Hello everybody, it's time for my favorite spooky time of year, Halloween. Now to do Halloween, of course, I want to put a photo on my nail, because what better really than to put Frankenstein, maybe a little Vincent Price, maybe some Jack Skellington, some bats, some witch boots, you know, little haunted flavor. But just in case you don't happen to be as cuckoo nuts about Halloween as I am, I also included some fall leaves. And to do this, in case you didn't watch the other video, which I will link down below, in this case, I took just a regular 4x6, and I'll move you here a little bit, 4x6 piece of photo paper. And I taped a piece of tissue paper to the front of it. I'm trying not to get my latex on it too. I wrapped it around the back and taped it so that I can feed it through my printer like I would any old piece of paper, or any old 4x6 anyway. When you're feeding your images through your printer, I recommend you print them out somewhere between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch across. It depends on your nail bed, of course, and how big you want your image. If you want your image to cover your entire nail, more power to you. It'll look like a nail wrap, but it will stay put, unlike any given nail wrap. I don't care how good they are. No, they don't stay. They're great if you don't mind doing your nails every 2-3 days. Personally, mine are 2 weeks, or I'm not going to bother. So what you do, again, I will link down below the video where I go over very in-depth on how to do photos on your nails, but you paint the back with a little bit of white paint. If your nails are going to be white, you can slather that paint all over the place. Doesn't matter. You can cut out a very loose shape. Again, doesn't matter. If you haven't printed a black background, like in Frankenstein's case, I do have a black background, so I'm gonna want to put him on a black nail. He's just not going to show up otherwise. The only other option I have is to do a different type of printing where I take that black out in my photo program and I print him out, say, green. Then I could do him on a black nail or what have you. I could paint the back white. Now in this case, I've gone ahead and painted it white because I want him to pop out. I mean, there's no ink there where his face is. And clearly if I put that on a black nail, the tissue paper is going to become transparent, which is why it works for what we're using it for. If you wet it, it becomes transparent. And yes, that was water in case you're wondering. So if it's going to be on a black nail, the black border is fine. You can paint white behind the face, but you don't need to be super precise because it does have a black border. If you're going to do something, let's say this Jack Skellington, and you're going to do him on a black nail, you want to keep your white paint within the circle, because if you come out of that circle, you're going to see it, and there's really nothing you could do except maybe take a black Sharpie or black paint and paint where you can see any white outside of the circle of his face. Because of the RSD, the nerve damage I have in my right arm, I just can't get that precise, that small anymore. So I find it's easier to paint the back and then use a toothpick or a dotting tool, anything. I can just move that paint up to that line. As you can see, I've done here. Here I just slathered it on, doesn't matter. Okay? So, once you have that done and it dries, you may then cut your images out. There's no need to cut precisely because of the way we've done it. In the case of these leaves, if any white paint sticks out and when I put it on the nail, I can easily take a yellow Sharpie, an orange Sharpie, or a black Sharpie and cover any overages that I have of white paint, because I, again, just cannot be that precise, unfortunately. So trying to cut into there that small would also be difficult for me. With the Jack Skellington, same thing. If I get white over, I can easily go over it with a black marker. Not a problem, but again, it requires some preciseness that I may or may not be able to do. Now, let me dampen my nail here with a sponge out of my water. So if I dampen this nail and I test fly one of my leaves, for those of you who are not as into Halloween as I, and I moisten it with my sponge, you can see the tissue disappears, which is exactly what it's going to do when I put clear on top. And you can see right here, I had some white overage. So what I've simply done is taken some of that yellow and gone over it, and to most people, it's just going to look like leaf. Voila. Okay. Now I found this very cool, they call it glitter. It doesn't glitter, but it is little flakes of neon colored mylar with black, and it just screamed Halloween fall kind of thing to me. So, as some of you may or may not have done before, so I will go over it. I try not to do something you've probably seen 10,000 times on other channels, like painting the nail. I think you kind of have an idea how to do that. What I do is I generally will take just the lightest little coat of this on the nail so I can see the glitters and what I'm dealing with. And as you can see, we got several different sizes and colors. Pretty cool. But to get it on there the best, I find that if I just slather it on a makeup sponge, and I don't mean a beauty blender, they're far too expensive. I'm talking about these things you can get for like $3 for a huge package of maybe 50 of the things, excuse me, that we use to do gradient nails and things like that. You just slather it on there, and then you proceed to pounce it. Or dab, as our favorite nail comedy channel suggests. And what that does is it gets rid of all the clear polish so you don't have massive buildup on your nail, and just deposits the glitters, or in this case, mylars. Do that a couple of times so you have a nice disbursement. In the case of something like this, you don't really need it to be thick, because I'm not trying to make the entire nail one color of glitter, say gold or silver or what have you. I'm just trying to give it that funfetti look. So, second coat. Slowly but surely the sponge will absorb the clear, leaving me with the neon mylar chunks. And of course I'll link this down below, but I will tell you that I was not able to find it online anywhere. I actually found this in Meijer's. It is Studio M, which seems to be exclusively a Meijer's grocery store, in case you live in a part of the country or the part of the world that doesn't have such an animal. And what I'll do is, while I'm waiting for this to dry, is I just run a dotting tool around here and flatten anything out that is wrapping over the cuticle and the edge of the nail. Or at least try to. Get it back up on the nail, or off, depending. And then once it starts to get a little dry, I'll take my nail, my other finger here, and just kind of pounce it, because I want it to be flat as possible. And I don't want them hanging off the nail or I'm going to get snagged. Oh, I hate that. Ugh, so annoying. I can't say anything snaggy on my nails, which is kind of why I do my nails the way I do them, and I couldn't stand to do them every day, 2-3 times a day. Or no peel, or that, I'm sorry, peel on that peel base coat. I do that if I'm trying something out. If I want to try out a technique or I'm trying an experiment, that peel off base coat, that's great stuff for that kind of thing, because you don't damage your nail. You don't have to put remover on your nail. It doesn't take 3 hours to get everything off, and it spreads all over the skin, yada, yada, yada. So this is what it would look like on purple, and this is what it would look like on the green, this neon green color I have. I kind of liked it better on the green for the fall feel, but I liked it better on the purple for the Halloween feel, if you see what I'm saying here. And that right there is the stand that my camera's on, so you'll have to excuse it. Okay, so as you can see, the green gives you more of a fall feel, even though you don't see much of it. It's there. And the purple gives it more of a Halloween feel, in my humble opinion. So So what I'm often asked is if I have a disability or an injury or some inability to hold a tool doing precise work, like taking the polish off the edge of the nail, everyone seems to think that that's just, common, easy stuff. Everybody should be able to do that. Well, if you have muscle damage, nerve problems, rheumatoid arthritis, I don't care if you got a paper cut and you simply can't do it. What else can you do? Do you have to go get your nails done? And unfortunately, let's be honest, ladies and gents, those of us who have disabilities, we're the least likely to be able to afford to go get our nails done. And who thinks among you that getting your nails painted should be a luxury? Personally, I don't. I feel like it ought to be something everybody can enjoy having. So, what can you do if you can't hold? Well, first, if you can't put on polish neatly, which is, I've never lied. I've said that's something that I have a heck of a time with. That's OPI's black, by the way. And this stuff thickens on you real quick. So, if you have some, use polish thinner in it the second you start to notice it thickening, because if you don't, forget it. It turns into gel goo, which is a good investment, by the way. If you go to Sally's or online, you can get polish thinner. It is not just acetone. Do not pour just acetone in your bottle and polish and think it's going to be fine. It'll work, but you'll be sorry. So, what can you do? You've got polish. It's all out to here. It looks more like this now. And you've tried this, but you keep making more of a mess than anything. How can you do this? Real simple. You buy the thinner body Insta-Dry top coats, okay? When I say thinner body, I do not specifically mean this bad boy. This is the best one for if you put any kind of embellishments on your nails, what have you. It's a thicker body. It dries quick. It gives a beautiful shine. It looks most like a gel when it's dry. But it's not good for what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something like this. It's a thin body when it's dry. It's paper thin, wispy. And what you do is once you've slapped your polish on and you've gotten off as much as you can before you know you're going to run into trouble. So, if you've had it all out here, if you've got it, getting camera dear. If you've got it out there, try to get some of it off. If you can't, you can't. And then you're going to take your thin body, clear, and you're going to slather it all over all of this, the whole kit and caboodle. And you're going to go onto your nail even. Give your nail a coat of it. Okay? And you're just going to be as sloppy with it as you were with your polish. Sloppier, in fact, on the polish on your skin. Let it build up on there. That's great. That's what we want. We want a good coat of it on there. That one's got to dry, so. We want it everywhere. Okay? All over. And then, like I said, you can go right up onto the nail. And I'm going to use this at twofold. All right. So, as I said, to me, this color looks more fall-like. So, I'm going to take my fall leaf, deposit that on there, and press it in. And as you can see, the tissue virtually disappears in the polish. When we put the top coat on, the rest of it will go away. And I'm going to be using this one, which is Jolie's Matte Finish Top Coat. Of course, I will put a link. But once this all dries, and yes, I have latex on, so it's not really fair. I can peel that. But once it dries, you'll find that if you take your dye tool or a toothpick or a scrub brush or an old toothbrush used for scrubbing, and you break down this edge between your skin and the nail, and then you scrub a little bit with that said toothbrush or scrub brush, this stuff will literally peel off, taking the polish you've gotten on your skin with it. Not unlike this latex. It'll kind of form a skin, and it will peel off. Now, the latex is great, But if you have problems with minute control, you're going to have a heck of a time getting it onto the skin and not onto the nail. Stay away from the nail bed. Just get it onto the skin, and that will help keep some of it off. And then anywhere on the skin that you do get it, put a coat of thin body, fast dry, insta dry type polishes. This one, Sally Hansen, all the inexpensive ones you find, they're going to be thin bodied. But these are not, your cheapest cheap, and they are quite thin bodied. I would say out the door is probably my favorite for overall use and for peeling off excess polish. Now, of course, you're going to have ridges at the base of your nail that other people may not. And you know what? It won't really matter. After a couple days, you can easily just take a file and ever so lightly file that. Maybe in camera. Geez, no. Just file it flat a little bit because you don't want to get your nail bed, and then put another clear coat on. End of problem. Problem solved. Okay. And now we put the clear coat on top, and see the rest of our tissue paper disappears 90%. I got some black glitter from the other polish in there. Isn't that nice? Who cares? Oh, well. I'm the only one that will notice that and know that that's not supposed to be there. All right. Now this will dry to a matte finish, leaving me with a beautiful leaf. And this, because this is not a glitter, a shiny glitter, this is a flake, I thought that the matte would look best on that as well. And I have another fall leaf here, which I could easily apply. Cut off some of the excess and cover up that glitter because it's going to drive me crazy. Okay. Now let's slap a coat on top of that. And as you can see, I am not the neatest painter in the world, and I certainly don't worry about it when it comes to my clears, because you're not going to see it. And if I am worried about it, like I said, I can get up as close as I can get before I know I'm going to cause myself problems. And if ever you get glitter on your skin, I find a dotting tool is far better than the paintbrush, because we're going to be at it all day trying to get that out of there. I had it once and I put it right back, like so. Okay, so I have some fall nails. I have some Halloween-y colors. Lovely. Now, I want you to see, because I don't know that I've actually done it with a face, so I want to do my favorite thriller actor ever. From his earliest days, when he wasn't actually doing thrillers, to his final days. I was lucky enough to get to speak with him on the phone. He was a wonderful man. He sent my family and I recipe books and signed photos and film stills and bottles of wine. And he would call at my house, and when my kids would answer, he would do his laugh from the thriller video and read them poetry. And he was just such a wonderful guy. And it all started because I wrote him a fan letter. My husband said, he's not going to live forever. I said, I don't want to be one of those people. Yeah, I don't want to be a stalker. You think he's getting 500 fan mails a day? No, he's probably getting a couple. And he probably really appreciates them now. It's not like he gets one every 5 minutes. I said, I don't know. I wrote him one, and he was doing an advertisement for a camera, and this camera was a 3D camera. Now, this is, back in the 90s, I believe. Yeah, it had to be early 90s. And it was a camera that took 3 images at once, 2 images at once. It had a special flash, the whole thing. It was like a $1,500 camera system. So when you took a picture, it took several at once. It took a foreground, a middle ground, and a background that were all in focus separately. So the one picture had the foreground and blurred, et cetera, et cetera. It's expensive. And I was at work one day, and I got this box, and it said, "From a secret admirer." And I took it home, and I'm like, I don't know who sent me this. Look at this camera. My God, this is so expensive. We popped the videotape in that came with it, and it was the advertisement, the video commercial for the camera. And who was in it? But Mr. Vincent Price. So I took some of the images from his movies and printed them on fabric, which back in the day you could do in your printer, but I didn't have one then in 92? 91, yeah. So I took it to Kinko's, I think. Yeah, because that's what I was using when I had my fabric store. And I had them printed on fabric for me, and they had to ship it out to do that. And once it was printed on fabric, I made a quilt for him that featured all the pictures from the posters from his movies, House of Wax, you name it. And he was so happy. He called me, and he was in tears. He's just such a guy. Oh, such a gentleman. Really, just awesome guy. And I loved him for decades before that because of his movies. I mean, nothing was better at my house for my kids than Sunday morning, because they knew Mom was going to pop on a Vincent Price movie, and we were all going to sit around and do nothing for a few hours. Now, if I painted the back of his picture a little too aggressively and the white is sticking out, I can easily correct that with black markers, you can see. But just like the rest of the nails, I want to make sure I clear coat this with a matte. And that also helps hide the invisible ridge that you get from where the paper is laid on the nail, because you don't have the shine. If you want shine, I would suggest that you do a couple coats, and that ridge will eventually begin to disappear. Or 2 coats of Seche Vite, the thick polish I was speaking of earlier. This lovely guy right here will solve all that. It's not unlike when you put any kind of detail on your nail, whether it be a rhinestone, whether it be a stud, it has dimension. And even though this is tissue paper, and you can't get much less dimension, it's still there. So there we have Mr. Vincent Price. Let me let that dry, and I'll come back so you can see him in his matte glory. There we are, Vincent and Malif. This is one of many Halloween designs I'm sure I'll have on this month. I'm a little Halloween cuckoo. But I've also been working on the other project I keep promising you, which is in progress. And as I said, it's not one of those things that takes, 8 hours a day, 25 days. No. It's just that you have to pause in between to let things dry and harden and so on. And you'll see. I think you'll like it. But as always, be well and stay positive. Ooh.